You're listening to Synergy to Synastry, the podcast where two corporate girlies called to follow their intuition take you on a journey of self-exploration through metaphysical modalities.
I'm Christine, intuitive coach and clairvoyant.
And I'm Renee, psychic intuitive and astrologer.
We're excited that you're here and honored to be your spiritual guides. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. It helps listeners find our show, plus it automatically enters you into our raffles to win a free psychic reading.
Now, let's get into the episode.
Do you remember last season we had our What Have I Learned This Week section?
Of course.
Well, I had to share this with you. I can't remember where I heard this. It was probably on a podcast. But somebody was talking about the word demon. People think they see demons, like they see ghosts. But what if it really is just a bunch of negative energy that like we're giving attention to? And because we believe in it, it exists. And the way that they spoke about this idea was they broke down the word demon to daemon. De means negative and mon is emotions. I can't remember if it's Latin or Greek. I think it might have been Greek. But I was like, oh, wow. Did our ancient ancestors know that it was just a bundle of negative energy that we were giving space to? And if we just let go of that space, do we let go of the demon? I know we love breaking down words, so I had to share.
Yeah, because I also in season 1 had a What I Learned This Week on the etymology of the term decide, which was to cut. So you're cutting out choices. When we had our yoga episode, we were saying, oh, it's from to yoke. And in our Mancy's episode, that whole thing, we introduced each of them by talking about a bit of the etymology. So this has actually been a through line within this podcast inadvertently. But we wanted to actually have a full episode on etymology because it's a little side interest of ours.
I feel like we have a lot of side interests, so.
We do. I mean, it makes sense for me as a Manny-gen because I have like 500 things I'm interested in and doing. So I don't know what your explanation is.
I have a 1 in my profile, and we like to research and deep dive topics we're really interested in. So that's how I end up down rabbit holes. So where you have like many interests, I get a fixation for like a couple of months. I learn everything about it, and then I move on to the next fixation.
Meanwhile, I'm a grazer.
Yeah.
I like to just learn about a bunch of different things at the same time. I like the variety. I'm one of those people where I have a plate of food. I like meals that have a bunch of different textures and flavors. So it's almost like every single bite is different. I kind of go around the plate. My brother is an example. He'll eat all of the one thing, like his least favorite thing first, and then the next, and then the next, and then the thing he likes the most to leave for the end. I like to bounce around between all of them so that it's a whole adventure. I just taste a bunch of different things.
This is so fascinating because my godson is like this. My dad is like this. I don't like my foods touching. So I will eat one at a time because I don't want the other flavors on my food. So yesterday, my dad came over. We had Chinese food for dinner and he came in and he was hungry. So I was like, oh, I have a blueberry pie. So he eats a blueberry pie. And then I was like, do you want Chinese food? He was like, yeah. So I was like, do you want it on the same plate? He's like, no, there's already blueberry on this plate. Even though it was a huge plate and he could have split it in half. Yeah. No, we need things not touching. This is fascinating. We are combining our love of food with our love of Leiwu. And Leiwu. I just cannot. Back to what we came here for today. Renee, bring us in.
So start off our conversation about etymology. I thought we should set the scene by discussing words. Because the whole point of etymology is understanding words. This is exactly what I'm talking about. What does that even mean? I read this book last year I wanted to cite, and it's called Says Who by a linguist named Anne Curzan, and you'll see that in the show notes. And she defined words as a set of sounds or a representation of them that has a shared meaning within a community. I also wanted to note here something that she talks about in the book. We create words all the time. So there's a lot of discussions around that. People that are, more traditional, they don't like the new lingo and slang, the use of certain words. So if you're interested in those types of conversations, I highly recommend this book. But even the idea of a dictionary, We have a Merriam-Webster dictionary. We have a dictionary.com. We have an Oxford dictionary. All of these different kinds. Who's creating a dictionary? Where does it come from? They're deciding their own definitions for words. What does anything even mean? The key is it's a shared meaning of a community. So the community of people that are working on the Oxford Dictionary are linguists and people that they're polling, that they're talking to. They are agreeing that this is what these words mean. And they are agreeing to add a certain word or remove a certain word or amend the definition of a certain word because it now has a secondary, tertiary, etc. definition. And this concept of etymology itself stems back to the 14th century. And ultimately, it's the study of the origin of words. The etymology of etymology, etymon or etymos or eteos, and that's true or original. Logia or logi is study. So it's the study of the true or original meaning of words.
Is it safe to say that language is just an agreed upon meaning of a set of sounds? Isn't that wild when you reduce it to that? So if somebody says something really mean to you, they're just saying a set of sounds because they're frustrated.
You can back into a problem with what you just said. Because if we just say, well, that word doesn't mean that. And it's like, well, then we're kind of questioning reality. We have to have, as fundamentals of society at large, if we can't agree, as an example, on what's true or not true, that's the point of etymology. It's saying this is the true meaning. And if we have disagreements, which in society today, and in the US in particular, there is disagreement around what certain words mean. I have a few that come to mind. If you just look at the dictionary, it will tell you. If you look at any one of these dozens of dictionaries globally, you can get the agreed upon definition. And of course, you can have people saying, well, I disagree with that. And it's like, well, then we have opinion versus it is agreed upon by people that study this for a long time and have knowledge that has been passed down. So they know the origin of it. This is how this term evolved or how we've always maintained that same meaning. So there's so much more depth than just here's a throwaway word that we happen to use now, or we've added a different interpretation of it.
I agree with what you're saying. If we agree upon a set of sounds that are supposed to mean something, we should all abide by it. What I was thinking more importantly was if you're getting heckled by somebody you don't know or somebody you don't know says something really mean about you, they're just calling me a you-know-what because they're having a terrible day.
Right.
So that's
it's like
why
a coping mechanism for diffusing something because we can remember, just as we've talked about with Christian and others, well, if we've made time up, we've literally made all of these words up. And maybe it's not we in the present day, but in human history, people have made these words up. These terms got coined. They did not exist prior. The meaning of them changed. They had other meanings added. We can make it as flexible as we want it to be in understanding what we have in front of us.
What I love about our conversations is you and I are sitting together at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday having these deep, in-depth conversations. We don't need any sort of outside influences to make us think truly deeply about the world, and I love that about us. So before we go any deeper, can you give us a little amuse-bouche into etymology?
Amuse-bouche? Does that just mean sampling or?
I think in French, oh my God, going back to etymology, bouche is your mouth and amuse, I think, is a delight.
You've established what is a word? Where do words come from? Words evolving over time, contextualizing what etymology is. And the first thing I wanted to break down when we're talking about understanding ourselves, growing, personal development, even some spiritual alignment, if you will. The power of knowing what our names mean. Naturally, you can change your name if you want, and many people do. Whether it's a last name or a first name, or if you go by a nickname or not. Names are very powerful. They are a marker of our identity. So whether you were given a name at birth or you decided to go by a different name. To look up the origin of your name, I've included a few really great resources in the show notes. BehindTheName.com, TheBump.com, and Ancestry.com. There, you can learn about the popularity of these names in history interpretations, definitions of them, ancestral origins, all that good stuff. A name is a word, which is a collection of sounds with a shared meaning, by which a person or thing is denoted. The origin of the word name is Old English nama, noma, meaning reputation. Hilarious. But it does make a lot of sense because it's how you are known. In the resources in the show notes, you'll see this. It has a lot of citations specifically for the US. Not all the sources are US, but the Social Security Administration lists the names Christine and Renee as, quote, not in the top 1,000 names for any year of birth beginning with 2020. And in fact, I'm sure it goes back much farther, but that was like the most recent ones. The name Christine means follower of Christ, from Latin Christian, shout out because we had Christian on the podcast, and the Greek root of Christos, meaning Messiah or anointed. One of the older uses of this name, Saint Christina of Bolsena, or Bolsena, I don't know how to say it, 3rd century Italian martyr who converted to Christianity. Per the Social Security Administration, Christine has been in the top 200 of names going back to 1880. Its highest ranking was 1967 through 1970, where it ranked at 14 at its peak. And then it took a major nosedive in the late 90s and has been declining ever since. It is currently ranked at 2,264th.
I was named in the 80s, so that makes perfect sense. This is hysterical.
Yeah. Christina, Kristen, there's all of these variations that come out of this same root. And all of those are having different levels of popularity. But Christine is less popular now.
I kind of love that. You know, like in school when there were like 2 Anthonys, Anthony J and Anthony D, I never had to do that because I was always the only Christine.
Exactly. Ancestry.com reports that the peak year globally was 1949. To compare to my name, and then we can kind of break these down a little bit more. My name, Renee, means born again, from the Latin renatus, associated with the Christian tradition of rebirth through baptism. And it also obviously has a French origin. It's associated with France. It's highly popular there, even to this day. One of the very, very famous people with the name Renee is Rene Descartes, a French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist. That's spelled R-E-N-E. Per the SSA, Renee's been in the top 1,200 going back to 1880. The highest rank was in 1960 for girls, because this is a multi-gendered name. For girls, the peak was in 1960 at 313, and it has been declining ever since, also with a steep drop starting in the 90s. And then kind of rising and falling, but generally trending downward, anywhere from the 3,000s to the 6,000s, so even lower than Christine. And it is currently ranked 1,951st. Higher, but like barely. For boys, it has been very stable in the top 1,000s since 1880, with a peak in 1983 at 251st. And this is all in the US, so naturally it would be even higher in France. For Ancestry.com, they reported that Renee peaked globally in 1957. In general, by and large, our names are not popular. And of course, there's some commentary that could be said on that, like how is it that we ended up with these names? Data points aside in the arc of history, I think we should talk about the meanings of the names. Christine, what are your thoughts on the meaning of your name, meaning of my name?
I've always had trouble accepting the meaning of it. For the listeners, I am half Jewish by, culture? And I am half Italian Roman Catholic. My dad was picking out the most Italian names anyone can think of. And my mom wanted me to have an American name for, reasons of finding a job and whatever. Again, I was named in the 80s. Things were not as open as they are now. I've always had such an interesting relationship with religion, growing up with 2 different religions. Literally, one of the religions doesn't recognize Christ as the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's always been fascinating. And it's always given me this weird sense of I'm not worthy of that name as well. They always say, like, nobody's perfect except Jesus. And I'm like, fair. But I have a Virgo stellium with perfectionist tendencies, and you've given me this name. How can I live up to it?
Mm.
So I think I've shied away from my name for a really long time. I go by the name Christine, but the meaning of it, I try not to think about it too hard because I feel like there's so much weight in it, and I don't deserve that weight.
That feels so loaded.
So loaded. I'm in my second house perfection year, everyone, about my worth and value. So here we are.
If you could pick any name to just go by starting tomorrow, do you have alternatives?
No, that's the thing. I'm very attached to this name.
Mm.
So I don't know if I just haven't grown into my name yet, or like I just have stuff to sort out with it, but it's interesting, right?
One of the root definitions was anointed,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you take the religion part out, it's like you're blessed with gifts, spiritual gifts. There's people that want to follow you, that want to learn from you, and I feel like we are doing some of that. So if I can offer that as the counterpoint, I think you are living some of that out. It's just trying to detach it from the very weighty, long history.
I do feel like I have this, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome that I'm still dealing with, but why would anybody want to listen to me? Why does
Mm.
anyone think what I have to say or how I'm living my life is of importance? Who am I to be blessed? So it's all
Mm.
these existential questions I grapple with. But again, I wouldn't change my name. I love my name. So
Right.
I don't know.
I already knew the meaning of my name because I had learned it quite some time ago. I remember in high school when we learned about the Renaissance, I was very aware of the fact that it's the same root, Renaissance. Sometimes people actually say it like that, Renaissance. That's when it caught my ear and it went, wait, hold on, is that like my name? And it is. And the idea of the Renaissance period was it was a rebirth of art and culture and things coming back to light and shifting of society. So it is intrinsically tied to this rebirth concept. For me, as I have grown and evolved in my lifetime, and especially over the last few years on this journey, I have recognized how significant and meaningful this name is for me. If this is representing my life journey, this is so true. I feel like I am constantly trying to self improve, grow, expand, reinvent. I was even just sitting in reflection last night because I was telling a story about something that happened in an English class, and I was reflecting on it, going, wow, like I am so different. I have a lot of personality traits that my mom will say, okay, I had that from when I was 2 years old, when I could start talking. But we go through different changes with societal pressures and circumstances and all this other stuff that we get shaped and molded. And a lot of the work I think we're doing now is trying to come back to ourselves, but also lean into new versions. And I feel like I've lived so many lifetimes. Like I'll joke about that when I think about when I was in that last corporate job. Somebody recently, who was one of my direct reports, asked me for a recommendation. I've already given him a few recommendations. So he asked me for one the other day. Normally I would just say yes, because I have, but it's been almost 2 years since I've been his manager. And what I was thinking to myself when I read it was, I've lived so many lifetimes in the last 2 years. If I were to write a recommendation, I'm reporting on who I knew of you 2 years ago, and I'm not accounting for how you've grown, and I don't know how you've grown. So I've been really thinking about this idea a lot, even leading up to this episode, how much I've shifted and changed and become better versions of myself. So this idea of rebirth, I think it's, my mom literally found this name from watching the credits of a soap opera. She just went, oh, that's nice. And she liked that you could have it be double letters. And so then that's how my name got picked. And it has such a significance. And I feel like it really does capture a lot of who I am as a person.
Aren't you in your eighth house perfection year too?
Yes.
I think it's so interesting. You're really reflecting on
Yeah.
rebirth when, the eighth house represents rebirth, and here you are in your perfection years. The biggest thought I have on your name is I will never look at the word Renaissance the same again. Renaissance is how I shall say it. I'll never forget again that Renee means born again. Like there's so many key things. Yeah, no, I'm in love with all of it.
And don't you feel like it's so perfect for not even just like how I am and living, but the work that we're doing?
Yeah.
Speaking of past life stuff, which we've talked about in some recent previous episodes, I have been told that by some intuitives. Oh, you have a really old soul. Whatever you believe about past lives, if I have this old soul that basically was reincarnated from a long time ago, then it's like being born again. It's like it could also carry all of these other meanings.
Oh my God, I love that. I didn't even put that together.
All right, Christine, why don't you move us into our next topic?
Yes, so I am very excited to talk about this. Another fun fact about me is that in astrology, my sixth house, the house of daily routine, is ruled by Gemini. So even though I'm an organized, structure-loving planner at heart, routines, I truly cannot stick to the same routine every day. When I started working for myself 2 years ago, I began experimenting with different routines to see how I could structure my days in a way that felt more like flow than resistance. One of the ideas that I had that's kind of stuck up until now was to see if each day of the week held a theme or an energy that I can tap into, and sure enough, they do. So we are going to talk about the etymology of each day of the week, how to remember them, and how to use this knowledge to structure your week. I'll break down the etymology using English, Italian, and Latin because those are the languages I'm most familiar with, but I highly encourage you to dig into the etymology of these words using the languages that you know as well. This is a good time to remind you guys that we have an episode on planning versus manifesting, episode 3. So as you're deciding whether or not you're planning or manifesting, kind of breaking down the steps for those small goals, when you're figuring out where you want to plan, listen to the etymology episode, how the energy of the day sort of impacts what you're trying to do, and give yourself another little boost by putting that smaller task to your goals on the day that is most aligned with it.
Part of why we wanted to discuss this is because, just like your name, it gives you additional context for reframing how you are working with the days, how we're understanding what words mean, because you can make choices and you can choose to lean in to what these words are meaning historically, what they mean energetically. As you are listening to this, you can keep an ear out if you know the day that you were born on and see if you relate as well.
I'm going to start with Monday because that's how I start my week. Monday, astrologically, is ruled by the moon. And when we break down the etymology, it makes so much sense. In Latin, Monday is Lunae dies, day of the moon. In Old English, it's Munandeg, which means moon day. And in Italian, the way that I remember the days of the week and even got into this is lunedì. Luna means moon in Italian. So Monday as a moon day, if you think about it, the moon represents our emotions, being reflective, being in flow. So Monday is a really good day for going slowly, checking in with yourself. And that's kind of what I started using Mondays for. I go grocery shopping, I plan out my week, I clean my apartment. I'm very introspective on that day. I don't really plan too much. And if I can avoid it, I avoid making outdoor plans or like outside of the home plans because I want to seep in that energy. The next day that we're going to talk about, obviously, is Tuesday, ruled by Mars. So when we break down the etymology, the Latin is Dies Martis, day of Mars, and Mars is the Roman god of war. Here's where it gets cool. In Old English, Tuesday is pronounced Tuesday. Chu is the Germanic god of war. So a lot of the Old English words developed from the Germanic mythology. And in Italian, martedì, Marte means Mars. So if we look at the energy of Mars, it's a good day to take action. You're very driven, you have desire. I like to use Tuesdays to start something new or have like a just do it mentality. And I really promote progress over perfection on Tuesdays. It's a really good energy to tap into. I try not to overthink it. And if there are any big projects that I have been putting off or procrastinating on, I always schedule to start them on a Tuesday because just the energy of initiation helps me get started. So I highly recommend if you are sitting on something you really don't want to do, get it out of your mind, schedule it for Tuesday, and see how that works. The third day we're going to talk about is Wednesday. Wednesday is ruled by Mercury. Fun fact, I was born on a Wednesday. So listen to the etymology of Wednesday, how it breaks down, and let me know if you see a little bit of me in there. In Latin, Wednesday is Mercuri dies, day of Mercury, and Mercury is the Roman god of communication. In Old English, I'm totally going to butcher this pronunciation, but it's Odin's Day with a W and a weird O. Odin was the all-knowing creator god.
In that quote that you have for Anchorman, wasn't like Great Odin's something?
Great Odin's Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all coming full circle. Good catch. I never would have placed that. And in Italian, Wednesday is mercoledì, Mercurio is Mercury. Mercury is our planet of communication, intellect, information. So it's a great day to learn something new, to communicate with others or your higher self, to teach. So on Wednesdays, I really try to schedule if I have to write emails I don't want to write, I harness that energy. Or if I'm learning something that's really difficult, I try to learn it on a Wednesday. I have a Virgo stellium. Virgo's ruled by Mercury. I was born on the day of Mercury or Odin's Day. I am very much a communicator. I like to communicate. I've always gotten great feedback on my communication. I love information. I think we just spoke about that somewhere in this podcast, the one in my profile. I love to research and deep dive into things. Renee, I'm curious after listening to all of this and even catching the Odin relation that I never would have caught, what your thoughts are about anything.
I think your description for yourself does make a lot of sense. So interesting to have that extra layer on top. So not only on the astrological side is the energy of Mercury heavily weighted, represented within your chart, but to also have been born on a Wednesday, which has this history and etymology tied to it, I think is like a chef's kiss. It's so perfect. You're talking about Monday as a moon day. I'm like, oh, my ears perk up. Anything that is moon related, it is about emotions. It is about reflection. It is about energy moving and trying to follow it and taking it easy. And I think it's funny in the grand scheme in culture, there's such a strong association with, oh, I have a case of the Mondays, or like there's something that feels heavy and weighted about Mondays. And I can throw a theory out there that if we're starting a work week on Mondays, but then no one wants to start anything on a Monday, we want to kind of sit with ourselves. We want to process. Even having this schedule of Monday to Friday doesn't really align with the energy of a Monday. Would you agree with that?
100%. When I was working in corporate, Monday I really liked for planning. Any managers listening that schedule 8 a.m. meetings on Monday to try to get like a start to the week, I actually don't find that to be super productive because it's so much anxiety to give a debrief of the week that just passed. I actually had one manager who had our meetings on a Wednesday, and I was like, why does this feel so much better? Wednesdays are a great day for communication or teaching or learning something new. And what a great day to sit down with your team. This is what I've worked on. Do you have any ideas how to help me? Like it flowed so much more naturally. And now that I think back on it, wow, that makes so much sense. Also, if you're planning meetings on a Wednesday versus a Monday or a Friday, they're more likely to happen because people aren't going to be missing, who's on vacation, is it a holiday, whatever. I love Mondays now and I look forward to them because it's my introspection time.
I just made this connection in thinking about this first section of the week. How am I aligning with the etymology and energy of each of these days or not? On Mondays, my week ahead channeled messages. So I lean into my intuition on those days. It's reflection. We're looking back, preparing ourselves to look forward. That has become the checkpoint. And I, for whatever reason, have done those on Mondays rather than Sundays, even though I consider the beginning of the week a Sunday. So that's kind of perfect. And all of my cards that I use are moon themed. Tuesdays, I end up getting a lot of stuff done or trying to play catch up. So that works with the action energy of a Mars ruled Tuesday. And then on Wednesdays, I also teach on Insight Timer. Those are more actually teaching, where I'm doing lectures. I'm doing one today. I am coaching. And that works with the communication side that you talked about. So I did this completely inadvertently, and it has lined up. So trust your intuition. If it's guiding you, it's probably linking up with your energy.
And as always, you just reminded me of something. On Instagram, if you follow me every Monday, or I try every Monday, to put out a Monday mood. And that's when I channel a mantra for the week or an affirmation for the week. I was born on a Wednesday. What I forgot to mention to the listeners as well is that my birthday was like 4 days ago. So for all you listeners out there, coming up, we have another autumn equinox raffle. As you know, in order to enter, you have to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or leave a comment on any of our Spotify episodes. And what I would ask as a birthday gift from all of you lovely listeners is to either leave a review or a comment. So not only do I get the gift of knowing how much you love us, but you also get the gift of potentially winning a 1-hour reading with both Renee and I that you could either keep for yourself or you can give away. I don't know why you would want to, but if you want to, you can. Let's talk about Thursday. I feel like as we move through the week, it just gets more and more interesting. So Thursdays are ruled by Jupiter. In Latin, it's pronounced Jovis Dies, I think, which is literally translated into Day of Jupiter. And Jupiter, among other things, was the Roman god of sky and thunder. In Old English, Thursday is pronounced Thursday. And in regular English, it had a few sort of iterations. It eventually evolves into Thunor. Thursday was called Thor at some point, the god of thunder. In Italian, it's pronounced Giovedì. Giove is Jupiter, so very easy to remember. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's a good day to network and socialize, capitalize on those opportunities. Anything you really initiated on Tuesday, if an opportunity comes up, Thursday's a great day to take a chance on it. Anytime my friends want to get together, the first day I will pick is a Thursday night. I have the energy this day to socialize. The next day we're going to talk about is Friday, which is ruled by Venus. In Latin, Friday is Veneris Dies, day of Venus, and Venus was the Roman god of love. This is also why we get this romanticized energy on a Friday. In Old English, it's pronounced Frigidae, the day of Frigga, the Germanic goddess of married love, so a very specific type of love. And that eventually evolved into Frigga, the English of, obviously, the goddess's name. In Italian, Friday is Venerdì, Venere is Venus. Venus is the planet of like beauty, love, value. So it's a great day to enjoy yourself and experience pleasure for the sake of pleasure. It's a great day to get creative. On Fridays, I like to give myself space to wander if possible. I start my day off with a workout because I love myself. And then I kind of let the day take me where I have to go. Yes, there are things that I have to do, but I try to romanticize my life. If I have to work, let me go work at a coffee shop and get myself like a lovely coffee while I work. You know, it's like a treat yourself day. Are Fridays social for me? Sometimes. I want to be social with the people I want to be social with. Thursday for me is a better day to be social with everyone. Fridays are for like particular relationships. And I feel like that's very indicative of Venus. The next day we're going to talk about is Saturday, which is so fascinating. I've been like dying to get up to this day. Not only is Renee born on this day, the meanings sort of switch between the languages that I know. Saturday is ruled by Saturn, which is very easy to remember in English. In Latin, it is Saturni Dies, which is day of Saturn. Saturn was the Roman god of agriculture, time, generation, disillusion, so many things. In Old English, it's Saturn's Day. You'll notice that this is the same as the Latin, reflecting the Roman influence on the English language. Here, they don't replace the name with a Germanic god. In Italian, Saturday is Sabato, but Saturn is Saturno. And I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, am I being punked? Sabato is actually Italiano for Sabbath. So the derivative of this word comes from the Hebrew Shabbat, meaning day of rest. This reflects the influence of Christianity. The Latin of Shabbat is Sabbatum. If we think of it as Saturn ruled, that's the taskmaster, discipline, responsibility. Sometimes the stuff that I can't get done during the week, I just throw it on a Saturday. And it's usually the little tasks. Like I forgot to send this email, or I forgot to reach out to so-and-so, or I need to plan whatever, or run to the pharmacy. I do that on a Saturday. The other thing that's fascinating that I've been doing this year is my tech Shabbat. So I will use Saturday as a Sabbath where I disconnect from all technology. There's a duality to this day that I really love. It's a great day to get organized. It's a great day to check tasks off your to-do list and even put boundaries in place. But I also think this is a good day for rest. So feel into what feels good for you. For me, as I mentioned, I can't stick to one routine. It changes all the time. If it's a nice day out, it's a Sabbath. If it's a rainy day, it's a task day. You use it in the way that works best for you. So Renee, knowing that you're born on this day, what do you think?
The energy of Saturday is getting stuff done, checking things off your to-do list, and also resting. Those are the stories of my life. On one hand, I want to do literally nothing, but also I want to do 500 things and get all of them done. I don't have a tech Shabbat, but I loved that history. Really fascinating. Whatever I can't get done during the week that I'm trying to get done during the week, it has to go on a Saturday. Ideally, I'd like to do it on a Saturday and not leave everything for Sunday because then it feels last minute to get done over the week. So it ends up going into Saturdays for me. I try to check myself and remember I can't just be working the entire day on everything I couldn't get done during the week. I have to make sure that I rest. So I've always associated Saturdays with more of a day of rest, even though canonically I feel like people think of more for Sundays, but it probably has to do with the Sabbath thing that we're talking about. To kind of back up, for Thursday, it being a very social day, I think is interesting. I know from my work right now, we actually this week just rescheduled a bunch of our meetings to Thursdays. I have a lot of meetings on Thursdays. Historically, we have been recording the podcast on Thursdays. Fridays are tricky because I sometimes treat Fridays like a Saturday also, where I'm still trying to get stuff done, but then I also want to be able to unwind. And I think that that has the stronger cultural association where everybody's looking forward to Friday because, yay, the week's over. We can celebrate. We can relax or have some good food. Those are very Venusian in wanting to be able to unwind, go out somewhere, watch a show, go to some sort of an event. That checks out to me. And then Saturdays, yeah, I would be curious to know from the listener. Please do leave a comment on this episode or write in thoughts on how you treat your Saturday, because Christine and I do have alignment, but I am wondering if you're doing kind of the same thing or if you lean more into the taskmaster side or more into the rest side, because yeah, like you said, it has a bit of a split definition here in part because the etymology changed, which we talked about at the beginning, that the meaning of words can change over time in some ways because of how it gets translated, but then adopted in different cultures. What does a word mean? Shared definition from the community. So if it went into a new community, they changed the meaning, it now means something else. And then all of that folds into itself. I'm not Saturn ruled. We did talk about it with the divination episode of having the Saturn finger and my finger being crooked, so it's having an influence. I'm born on a Saturn ruled day. That's the only connection I can think of from that perspective as far as my whole life goes. But the energy, everything about the vibe of it is so my personality, and it is very laughable to me.
Renee is the taskmaster of the podcast. Like, before I could even land on an idea, she's already updated the to-do list with exactly what we need to do. And I'm like, how does she do that? Like, she is Saturn. Now, we'll end with Sunday. Sunday, easy to remember in English, is ruled by the sun. In Latin, it is dies solis, day of the sun. In Old English, it's sunandeg, day of the sun. But in Italian, here we go, it's domenica. Sole is sun in Italian. As the influence of Christianity grew, it was actually Roman Emperor Constantine who changed Sunday from the Latin dies solis to domenica, meaning the Lord's day. When we think of the sun, we think of our natural gifts and talents. We think of external energy. This is a really good day to focus on enjoying yourself, making yourself happy, and celebrating yourself. Different from Friday's energy of enjoying pleasure for pleasure's sake, Sunday to me has a little bit more action. So I usually start my day off by journaling, but then I hit up my friends. I'm like, what are you doing? Do you want to go to the book club bar? Do you want to try a new restaurant? Do you want to have dinner together? Do you want to go to the park? Do you want to go to this event? Sundays, I just think, should be spent enjoying yourself. The sun usually represents the masculine, the moon represents the feminine. So when I think of the sun, I think of external and leadership and kind of taking control of your day the way you want to. If you're religious, Sunday is the Lord's Day. In Christianity, that's the day you go to your religious service. In other religions, you may go on a different day. But if we're talking about the Italian Domenica, Italians are typically Catholic. Me, I like to make the day all about me, but for you, you may want to make the day all about the Lord and religion and what works for you. And even then, I think it's making it
your soul work.
Yes, there we go.
It may happen to be in community, like you were giving some examples of getting together with your friends. So it's a different manifestation, I think, of the same energy. And I'll say for me, Sundays end up being kind of a mixed bag. I'm less likely to have plans on a Sunday. I might be borrowing a little bit from, I couldn't get this done Saturday. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm very conscientious around not overbooking or really booking up my Sundays because I want to make sure I can wind down. Like I do dinner that night. So I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I'm not crowded with things and then can kind of mentally prepare and ease into my week. I don't even sit down and do like what you do, Christine. I have a bunch of to-do lists in different spots. I'll just do it on like any rotating basis. I'm always planning my day ahead or next like few days.
Yeah, I hate plans on a Sunday. And I know we typically have like showers on a Sunday. I love all my friends and I love your babies and your weddings and your engagement parties. But when I have something booked on a Sunday or even like a holiday, like Mother's Day, whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
I have to do anything that doesn't focus on me on a Sunday. Like I feel a resistance in my body, and that may sound selfish, but I think we can all attest to it. You're like, I just want to do what I want to do today.
Right. I had so many conversations with people, getting back to full circle, the case of the Mondays. How many times would you go back to work on a Monday and you talk to people about how their weekend went? And the conversation is, I felt like I didn't have enough time to get done what I wanted to do, because how it feels is you have Saturday where you're trying to get everything done and then you're trying to rest, but then you don't feel like you needed an additional Saturday to get stuff done. And that is a general sentiment that I find comes up for people, because it's not that, it means on Sunday people aren't doing anything. They could still be doing what I'm describing, accomplishing a few tasks, but not as much, and then trying to recuperate. And then you're having those Sunday scaries, dreading that, oh no, the week is going to start and I have to start planning for my week ahead and moving into that new energy in the reflective space. And then my emotions are catching up to me and I'm mad and angry. Like that's kind of what ends up happening for people over and over and over again. And it's because we don't feel ready. We can go back to our 2025 forecast bonus episode between seasons with the Gregorian calendar. When we are operating in a way with these rigid systems of these are the days, we have these days of the week, the work week is this many days for most people, not for everyone. We're out of sync with how our bodies literally want to work. And in today's society, we have so much information coming at us. We have a computer in our pocket, bing, 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 giving us all these alerts, all of our attention. We're overstimulated. We're more connected than ever, and we're more disconnected than ever. It makes it harder for our bodies to adjust. We've never had to learn how to adjust this quickly evolutionarily. If there's a takeaway from this episode, maybe it's just taking a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. Sorry, I had to. Taking a look. Maybe you're doing this on a Monday, reflecting. How are my weeks normally going? How can I recalibrate so that my schedule, how I'm spending my time, where my energy is going, what's my sleep cycle been like? What's my diet, my exercise been like? How am I doing? And how can I make some adjustments? What Christine has outlined today gives you a framework that you could try to build off of as a base. Maybe test that and see if it helps you to recalibrate and get a little bit more present with yourself. So you're acting with intention. We're trying to get our bodies and our minds to do something that we're too tired for, that's misaligned. No wonder we don't feel productive, because we kept getting distracted because it's not where we were that day. We tend to try to corral ourselves. It's a square peg, round hole situation.
Yes. If you're feeling resistance to doing something, maybe change the day. Put it on a different day. So what I would recommend, listener, if you're going to try to use this outline to help you plan your days, start with something really small and see how it feels. It took me a while to get into the rhythm that I'm in now. Unfortunately, some things are going to work and some things aren't, and you kind of just have to go with the flow of that. Maybe on Monday when you get to work, you set aside the first hour of your day to just be reflective. And that's how you start and see how that works for you. Understanding words from a different lens can also give us a peek into where we came from, right? Why did we name the days this way? And what energy is it infused with? If this felt like an aha moment for you, message us or leave a comment with your thoughts and questions.
Admittedly, we got pretty wordy today. Get it? And as a result, we needed to split this conversation into 2 parts.
Coming up next week, we'll put a period on our etymology talk with our final segment, where we'll look into the meaning of some of the most important words for this very podcast.
Find out exactly what those are, plus hear our dream analysis segment and the collective readings.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, the resources we used to prepare for this episode are listed in the show notes.
If you're curious to develop your intuition, we've partnered with the Nuurvana Be Light program to give our listeners a $500 discount on tuition fees. Email us for more details and we'll connect you with the founder, Deganit Noor.
Want to connect with us? You can reach me, Christine, at Channeled by Christine with 1 L on Instagram.
And you can reach me, Renee, at _read by Renee. Or connect with us both via email at synergytosynastry@gmail.com.
Keep your spirit curious and your aura sparkling.
We'll see you when the stars next align. Do you know the Lady Gaga song, Venus?
No.
I was editing a slide deck last night for a chart reading. The whole time I'm just singing this song because she says all the planet names. She has like this bridge, so dramatic, it's so Gaga. And she goes through and she like says all the planets.
Oh my God, wait.
In like the most fun way. So I always reference this song, but I really had it stuck in my head last night. I could not drop it, but it's from the Art Pop album. I'll add it to the show notes if people want to listen.
Please. I want to listen.